So just another quick and handheld video about Virtual DJ and a timecode kind of setup here. So a DVS setup with CD drives. Because currently it's Christmas in Denmark and I'm at my brother's house and he plays on this kind of setup. So old school CDJs and analog mixer. So there's no MIDI inside at all here. It's just supposed to be to play CDs or maybe MP3 CDs. But he of course liked Virtual DJ too. So he was like, can we do stuff with Virtual DJ? And I looked at these things, it's like, well, not by using a USB cable because they don't have any. So you can probably use timecode signal, but then you need a sound card with multi-input output for us to set that up. And he looked it up in the neighborhood and he found this one, the Rekordbox Interface 2, dirt cheap. It was like $50. So really, really cheap. And he was like, can I use that one? Well, that one. And I was like, well, I guess it looked good, but I'm not sure because it might be locked to Rekordbox. So I looked it up on the internet. I couldn't really figure it out for certain if it would work or not. So we took a chance and we bought it. And when we brought it home, it didn't really work. So what it's supposed to do is this. I'll just show you on the screen here. So from your manual, you have two CDJs down here. The image is a record player and a CDJ, but you get the picture. Then you have a sound, some kind of sound card. That's this thing up there. Then you have the laptop, the USB to the box, and then you have your mixer where you go in. And then you of course have your PA or speakers or whatever, and you have your headphones. So that's the setup we're trying to do. So down here, what's happening is I have this CDJ, and that has an output that goes into one of the ins on the Rekordbox. Then that gets sent through USB to the laptop, and then the output for not for the DAC, but for the mixed signals from Virtual DJ goes to a channel like channel 1 or 2 on this mixer down here, and that lets you do anything, right? Basically, so that's the idea of the setup. So did that work out of the box? No, it did not, because yes, it was actually locked. So what I had to do was I had to install Rekordbox, and there was actually a key for that in this box. So I chose an old one, Rekordbox 5. That was before everything was web-based and stuff, and subscription-based. So I got the Rekordbox 5, and I just got a trial for 30 days, including the DVS setup, because that's in the core version, so pretty cheap. So I got that, and then I tried to connect this Rekordbox box again. And then before that, whenever I played something through it, I just got the signal from the Timecode CDs because it was set to throughput by default. So once I got that set up and I got it signed in, so I proved I had a license for it for only a few days, but that's okay. And like I said, there's also one in the box, but this being used, that one was already probably used. So I went with the trial version of Rekordbox. So once that was set up, I was able to, in Rekordbox, to go in and set it to be real DVS, just anything apart from throughput. And then it started working. And then of course I was like, I have to do this every time I want to use this. So I shut down everything, I took the power off of this, and I restarted everything. And no, it looks like it actually gets stored. But just to make sure, you probably want to have Rekordbox installed, so you can redo this if you need to at some point. So basically all you have to do is sign in, and then you have to set it to not be throughput. Then things started to work. And of course, down here, we need the timecode signal. So what's that? Well, for me, it's just two CDs that I've built myself here. So what's on them? Well, that's actually from the Virtual DJ homepage. That's the timecode signal. So from this page, you can download it in either FLAC or MP3. FLAC may be better, but I just picked up MP3. And then you get, I think it's 17 minutes of signal. And I burned 2 of those and put them in here. And then things started working. Because now when I go back to Virtual DJ, I was able to set up the audio interface. So let me just go into that here. So this thing. So before that, I couldn't choose this thing down here, I have to install an audio driver as well, but that's pretty easy. And then of course it's set up to be 2 separate decks and 2 separate timecode modes. And now we're now going to timecode here. And let me just turn this down. And I press play on one of the decks, for instance, deck 1. You can see I get a signal, a timecode signal. And I've selected it for it to be virtual DJ CD. Exactly the same on the other deck. If I press the other deck, I get the timecode 2 signal. So now I have 2 players really. And then I've selected smart mode. I think that's the best mode. It's all about if you want the virtual DJ or the CDs to be aware where they are and they want to be in a relative mode. That gives you some benefits, but then you can't go back to the beginning. But I think that smart mode, like I selected up here, that gives you kind of the best of both worlds. So that's what I went with, the smart mode. So that works fine now. And now when I got out here in here, let me just stop these decks. I already see them play. You can see that that it says timecode, and you can actually see the incoming signal when I press play. Out here too, when you select that. And then, so now it basically works. So I've of course loaded something on a deck. You don't get a lot of help with that because, well, everything's analog. So you have to do that probably on the keyboard keys or whatever, like a lot of old Serato DVS users do. But once you load the tracks, you can start playing them. So let me just turn up deck 1. Press play, and it plays, and we get just as you would expect. So nice, right? And you can. So is everything like when you use virtual DJ then? Well, not at all, because you have to remember this just sends an audio output, right? So it doesn't know anything about all these buttons. It only knows what all these buttons do if they actually do something that can be detected in the audio output. So let me just move over here so it's easier to see. So for instance, setting the pitch, if I press play, just turn that deck up too. And I start changing the pitch, you can see it on the screen. So that's fine, and back. But it doesn't follow, meaning that it doesn't detect that I'm moving this slider. It just knows it because the audio signal changes, right? So if I move this now it's back to 125. If I move this now, like this, and look up on the screen, nothing happens. Why? Because there's no audio going in, so virtual DJ can't detect it. So that's basically how everything goes. If it can't be detected in the audio signal, then it won't work, right? Because it only has the audio signal. The audio signal is then, of course, a timecode, but still, it only has that. So what can it do? Well, it can play. It can also cue, but that's because of the smart mode. So I can actually set a cue point, and then when I press cue to go back to it, it actually doesn't go back to it because it doesn't know, it just stopped. But then because of the smart feature, then it just jumps back to it when I press play. Because now it knows, because it gets the new audio input. That also means that I can cue write, like this. So that actually also works. Again, because of the when the audio signal eventually comes, and then the smart mode, right? Looping works because that's basically the same, right? So that'll work. Like I said, the pitch will also work, but that's only because it detects it eventually, so it'll be a bit delayed. And actually, this tension stuff will also work. That's because it's physical. Like that. And of course now it's fast. That's all just because it's physical, so it can be detected in the outgoing audio signal. So that's pretty cool, but of course you have to think about what this can do. So some of the stuff doesn't always work. Search works, but only because it processes the track, right? Track select works and goes back to the start of the track, but not when you press it, only when you get the audio signal out again. But you can play, and you can of course play the other deck. and you can mix them. Of course, I'm a bit limited with one hand, but I have done a successful beat mix on this. So what about the mixer? Well, the mixer works too, but only because it's analog, right? So the EQs will work. Right? Just because it's the mixer doing it. So will if I turn down the cueing or the pre-fade listen, if you will. So now it's in the headphones. That works too, but only because it's the mixer doing it. It's not visually doing it, it's just sending out two separate decks, right? So now it's all totally gone, and now it's back, right? So that's basically it, really. You know how to do effects. Let's just try it. So we maybe do the other one out here. Again, it's just because it's an effects section. It's not Visual DJ doing the effects. I'm just turn it up a little bit. So the effects section does indeed work, but only because it's done by the mixer. So that was basically what I wanted to say about it. I think it was quite fun to get this box that didn't really work because it was locked to Rekordbox, then getting a Rekordbox to unlock it, get it set up in here. That was fairly easy once it was unlocked. We just needed to know, well, yeah, it's two timecode signals coming in and it needs to go to two decks and all this kind of stuff. And of course you can save such an audio config and then you can get it again later if you can't really remember what you set up. And then I needed to burn these couple of CDs. So let me just eject it over here. So two regular old school burnable CDs with the timecode signal from the homepage. That worked fine. And that's basically what I had to do. And then set it up a little bit, learn a little bit about smart mode and relative mode and absolute mode when it comes to DVS. And then of course figuring out what actually works down here because I only have the audio output signal. And then one last thing is if you want to listen to what is actually being sent by the CD, you can go in here and in Virtual DJ and select bypass, and it'll actually send whatever's coming in from the mixer. So this is what the actual timecode signal sounds like. So if you're hearing that and you want to be hearing music, then it's not getting sent into the software, then it's going straight to the mixer and being sent out through the speaker. And that's what happened when I initially connected it without having set anything up inside the Rekordbox. Let me just shut that off. But other than that, it kind of works. Of course, it's annoying that you have to use the Rekordbox a little bit to unlock it. And then, but all the other stuff apart from that is how DVS, or at least CD-based DVS, so digital vinyl system, digital CD system, I guess, that's the limitation of that. And if you like playing like that, then it works pretty well. Even on this old school stuff, so old CDJ800 and an old carbon copy of a 750 mixer from Pioneer. This is a very new one, but that's just a copy basically, I think. So, of course, if you're used to playing on that stuff, then it'll work just fine with this kind of setup.